Hello, my dear viewers. Welcome to a new episode. On the 10th of February 1940, cinemas welcomed the first ever cat and mouse movie. Or, in the Egyptian cinema language, Puss Gets the Boot. At the time, they weren't Tom and Jerry. They were Jasper and Jinx. Jasper the cat is picking on Jinx the mouse. And Jinx the mouse uses his intelligence to get back at the cat. The movie ends with a strange unexpected victory for the rodent kingdom where the mouse beats the cat. Here, the movie wasn't just successful, and threatened the popularity of other cartoons at the time, like Alice in Wonderland, Betty Boop, Gertie the Dinosaur, and Zsa and Gargier. The cat and the mouse will sit on the throne of the most popular cartoons in the world. Despite the simple story and comedy it has, where the context allows for fights between the cat and the mouse, producers found that the cartoon's popularity is growing. So, they thought, we need a name to appeal to people better. Jasper and Jinx. I can't pronounce it. Sounds like an expensive shoe store. So, they put up a $50 reward among artists for the person with the best name. Which was given to the artist John Carr, when he suggested two names from an English play called Life in London. It talks about two carriers called, no way, Romeo and Juliet? No. Tom and Jerry, my friend. And even though they both don't talk, they have unique personalities. Jerry is the smart brown mouse who just wants to have fun, eat bread, and pose on stickers. And Tom is stubborn and angry. Tom is the villain in the story. But, not to the point of hating him, he's still funny and loved by us. Personally, my friend, I used to root for him. I felt bad. He gets these long things in his head, and tries to hammer them back down. He's seen a lot. Tom is still funny. Of course, there's no need to say that the cartoon was loved by adults before kids. And everything went that way, until its popularity on TV started to grow and threatened the film industry. And film production companies go through tough times. They have to sacrifice something to keep going. What should they sacrifice? Of course, trivial, senseless, ridiculous things like cartoons. Specifically because the production company MGM spends $50,000 on a single Tom and Jerry movie. Notice, my friend, that it's a lot now. Imagine how it was then. That's when the company completely closed the animation division. They've no time. No one is buying films from them. And they gave up the original artists William Hanna and Joseph Barbera in 1957. Then they both made cartoons called The Smurfs, Scooby-Doo, and The Flintstones. They were blessed. A few years later, the company realized that there was nothing more ridiculous than what they have done. And that cartoons could have saved them during this tough time. That's why they decided to resume its production in 1961. 4 years after the closing of the animation division. And they produce Tom and Jerry, again without the original artists. They assigned direction to a guy named Gene Deitch. You might ask why this Gene Deitch? Before that, this guy owned an animation studio in New York. He met the love on his life in 1959, and traveled with her to a country called the Czech Republic. And they settled down. When the company contacted him to direct Tom and Jerry, they told him, while you're there, you should hire Czech artists. We want to save more money. Wages here in America, since we pay in dollar, are more expensive. So, find us some affordable people around you to work with. Of course, no need to say that there was a global event happening at the time called the Cold War. And who was it between? It was between the US and the Soviet Union and its allies. And who was close to the Soviet Union? The Czech Republic. Great, you're correct. So, the company had to secretly produce Tom and Jerry movies in Prague, the Czech Republic. The problem was due to the censorship in the Soviet Union. That's so great, ABO Mead. That means that despite this war, art was able to overcome borders, and make two countries that are against each other work together. Not just any work, but work on cartoons that go to kids. The problem occurs because of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union had very strict censorship and restrictions that separated the Soviet Union and Northern Europe from the rest of the world. Therefore, the Czech artists have never seen a Tom and Jerry movie before. Imagine bringing people from North Korea and telling them, please do a lamb sim sim. I want Aunt Karia, Gurgaz, Coca, and Filfil. What is Filfil? Therefore, that led to the production of a very separate version than the rest of Tom and Jerry movies. If you're a fan of Tom and Jerry, firstly, good job, me too. Secondly, you'll find a clear difference in the movies that were released then. Bad animation, and weak characters. Anyway, When these episodes aired, the company didn't write the names of the Czech artists in the credits. Why? Aby omeed. To not connect Tom and Jerry with communism. So, they wrote names of fake American artists. Then the Czech artists said, "We were already underpaid just to get our names known in America and get jobs. We wanted you to fetch us from communism and give us a taste of capitalism." Is that what capitalism is? Is it? Honestly, yes. The Czech artists said they wouldn't work again. Don't really know how they knew about their names, but just play along. Anyway, my friend, the funny part is that luckily for the Czech artists, when the audience saw the movie, said, "What is this trash?" Czech Artist 1 * Czech Artist 2. The director Gene Deitch in an interview in 2019 said that he received death threats because the audience didn't like his version. The company then let him go, and brought Chuck Jones, who was working for their opponent. He was working for the Warner Brothers, who made Looney Tunes. So, Mr. Chuck drew Tom with thick eyebrows and a slightly crooked head, similar to the Grinch, which he designed. And he made 34 successful Tom and Jerry movies from 1963 to 1967. And it begins to air on TV when CBS obtained copyright. If there's a description that fits Tom and Jerry, it would be the ultimate trend. A cartoon that went through time and space, and successful anywhere, anytime, for all ages and both sexes. But, what is the reason for this crushing success? And it's not just socially successful. Tom and Jerry, my friend, was nominated 13 times for Oscars, and won 7 Best Animated Short Film with films like The Cat Concerto, The Two Mouseketeers, and Johann Mouse. However, despite this crushing success, in the 70s, it was getting accusations of violence. Which is, by the way, still happening today. In 1991, the Cold War peacefully ends, and the world finally is safe and peaceful. That's when the production company releases the movie, Tom and Jerry, in 1992, and in its description, to save the life of a young girl, this cat and mouse will have to do the impossible. They'll have to get along. Welcome, my friend, to the 90s, where the Cold War is over, and the world is a nicer place. You beautiful audience, didn't you enjoy those little moments when Tom got along with Jerry? Well, here's a 90-minute movie, and a truce for a noble reason as well, to save a little girl. Of course, my friend, you're expecting that people wept when they saw the movie from how important the message is, how beautiful it is, and how amazing it is. How two enemies like the cat and the mouse can get along for a little girl. How humane. Wow. My friend, the audience left theaters saying, "How disgusting. Is this a joke? What do you mean, little girl? How is she saved by a cat and a mouse? They need to be saved. Where are the fights, punches, squeezes, and the stuff that comes out of heads? The ones they just hammer back down like alternative medicine. Where is the quarreling, electrocuting, jumping off mountains, birds above the heads, and dogs biting tails? We want fun." If you thought about it, you'll find a good reason for that. Because other than the perfect timing, great music, and smart writing as well, if you look at it, you'll find that Tom and Jerry's comedy depends on pain. Fights, pains, burns, and explosions. Falling, swelling, and disfigurements. Pains and screams that make us laugh from our hearts. Your grandpa loved it, you love it, and your kids will love it. All generations and cultures love it. Then the important question is, what makes pain something laughable? Do people love Tom and Jerry because of an inner passion for violence? Do we wish to be them whether hitting or getting hit? Or are we psychos or something? The question about the relation of pain and comedy is very old. As old as zoning out in human behavior. One of the theories date back to Aristotle and Plato, and it's adopted by many philosophers and psychologists. It's known by the superiority theory, that laughing on other people's pain is simply gloating. Because seeing people go through trouble in front of you makes you feel superior, or at least you're satisfied that you aren't alone, and you better about yourself. So, you laugh subconsciously. Because gloating makes you feel superior. Researchers who are specialized in studying laughter. Imagine an entire research field about laughter. Researchers think that the reason for laughter is the pleasant psychological transformation. That means a transformation happens in your psyche to make you happy. You turn from someone who felt helpless and incomplete into someone who feels superiority and control. In an experiment, one of the researchers deliberately treated some participants rudely. Then, he spills tea on himself in front of them. And of course, you find that people were happy about it more than if the person spilled the tea after treating them nicely. Here, they feel that they are better than him. And they do want to be better, since he treated them badly. So, let's take all that, and apply it to Tom and Jerry. The American historian Jerry Beck says that the global popularity that Tom and Jerry has is because people understand Jerry's point of view, since most of us have someone in our lives that controls us, and decides our happiness and drives, like your boss, father, or politicians. Or even the homeowner, or her cat Tom. So, we laugh because we see this small weak animal's victory over this big figure. We see Jerry's victory as one of our own as weak people, because simply it's what we want to happen in real life. This is one of the successful comedy types that's very famous. It was mentioned by B.U. Ali Yassin in his book, Setting the Boundary Between Humor and Seriousness. This type is called role reversal. We know that naturally strong beats weak, old beats young, and the cat beats the mouse. Much like when Horace Walpole said when roles are reversed and the weak is strong, like Madrasat el-Moshagabin, or El Kebrit. Here, our realization of this contradiction is one of the reasons for laughter. Regardless of the morality of the situation, you'll accidentally laugh when a student makes fun of a teacher. Because the teacher is powerful and has authority, but the student is nothing. Unless it's a language school. And just like Horace Walpole said, and please take this quote and post it on your Twitter too, life is a comedy for those who think, and a tragedy for those who feel. In the beginning, my friend, Tom and Jerry looked similar to animals. When Tom was in pain, he screamed like a cat. Which was annoying. Because then we'll think of a cat in pain. So, they made Tom scream like a human. So, Abo Mead, if a cat is in pain that's bad, but a human in pain is okay? Yes, my friend, it's okay. It's even a lot funnier and people liked it. How, Abo Mead? Firstly, the idea of hearing a man's voice coming from a cat is funny in and of itself. Even when Tom makes a sound, his voice sounds a bit hoarse. The second reason is that we are able to understand human pain more than our understanding of the hurt this animal is going through. Because we don't sympathize with animals like we do with humans. Laughter and pain are more connected than you think. My friend, it might seem that both are on opposite paths, but in the end, the path is apparently a U-turn. Let me surprise you and say that laughter isn't always happiness. Why, Abo Mead? Because laughter isn't an evolution of the smiling behavior. Laughter is connected to behaviors of eagerness and panting. Heavy breathing. It encourages the release of endorphins, which is responsible for decreasing senses of pain. Really? And also social bonding. That's why Dr. Robin Dunbar from Oxford University saw that laughter increased with the increase of pain to reduce its intensity. And the British psychologist William McDougall says that we laugh because humans are miserable creatures. So, when we laugh, it makes us feel better. Because, again, laughter in his view doesn't express happiness. However, it is a generator of happiness, even if you're intentionally laughing. And the mentally worse you are, the more you need laughter to reduce the intensity of the pain, as a defense mechanism. Dr. Sophie Scott from UCL describes laughter as a pressure cooker explosion. Because emotional buildup is sometimes expressed by laughter, which is a healthy way to get rid of built-up emotions. Emotions like nervousness, anger, and awkwardness. Cringe comedy like The Office, a comedy based on awkwardness. When I'm watching Michael Scott, I feel awkward. He bullies Toby during the entire series. That's why people who suppress their emotions too much are always laughing their heads off. You must suppress a lot, Abo Mead, because I see you're always. These people easily laugh on anything as an alternative adjustment to express pain. Any tiny thing will make me laugh. I carry too much. The Indian-American neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran supposes in his book, A Brief Tour of Human Consciousness, that laughter evolved as a sign to ourselves and others that what seems painful and threatening is actually not like that. He sees it as an evolution to inform people around us not to waste their energy or valuable resources on that situation. Because it's a false alarm. Like when you laugh at your friend falling, or at Tom and Jerry when they beat each other up, surely, in addition to the comedic context they're in. And no matter what type of pain we're feeling, it could be, in some context, a funny story. Much like you tweet, like, if you lost to someone in the past, you could have hurt yourself. But as time goes by, you start to live with the loss, you could also laugh about it. You'll notice it in football fans, my friend. One team could lose 6-0, so, it'll definitely be a disaster and a tragedy and very infuriating. But then a few years later, it's running joke, a pun, and we use it make fun of others, of the players, and ourselves. In an article for the New York Times titled, Stop posting your child's tantrum on Instagram. It says that sometimes when parents find their kid angry, or crying from a silly thing, they are programmed to quickly act and pay attention, and their blood pressure rises when the kid cries. But, because parents know that there's no danger, and to silence that alarm in their heads that says, "The kid's crying. I need to help," they start to laugh, to distract themselves from that alarm. And that's key to how we laugh at what used to hurt us. That's why some psychologists, my friend, classify humor as one of the mature defense mechanisms that we use to protect us from intense worries. Because our ability to laugh at traumatic events in our lives doesn't mean we ignore them, but it prepares us to endure it. And the ability to face trauma with humor or jokes is a sign of healing from it, and afterwards being able to laugh at the moment of trauma, or shortly after. This laugh indicates that we can take it. Psychologists, my friend, think that comedic abilities develop during teenage years as a mechanism to adjust to the pain you're going through. During teenage years, you're at the peak of social awkwardness. What is a teenager but an awkward person? And the proof of it is that comedians usually come from difficult social and economic backgrounds, or have had a rough childhood. It's hard to find a mentally stable person who makes people laugh. Did you see that awkwardness? In a study done at the University of New York on successful comedians who get paid in 6 digits or more, it was found that 80% were psychologically treated at some point of their lives. Not just that, they also confirmed that they are afraid of getting better. They are worried that the psychological treatment might work, because simply if they mentally healed and got better, they won't be funny. Comedians think that it's a very important part of their abilities. Imagine having an illness, and it's the source of your food, water, and wealth, so you fear fixing it. In a Time magazine interview with the comedian Jim Norton, he said that the deeper the hole gets, the more comedy you need to get out of it. That's dark, ABO Mead. Can I turn the light on? I guess you didn't suffer, my friend. You didn't feel the comedy that's based on psychological problems and existential crises. You didn't. Thank God though. Comedy is a type of self-treatment. Whether for comedians like Jim Norton, or for viewers themselves. When we put the pain in a context and see it from a different view, it could be funny. And we aren't talking about what's best, but it could be a way to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Context matters. And if the context is a cat and a mouse fighting each other, few words, but big impact, no matter how much they differ, they can't be apart, so, therefore, you follow that context, and you learn lessons through your favorite cat and mouse. And today we learn how our instincts sometimes pushes us to laugh at other people's pain. So, don't let your emotions control you, my friend. But, remember, my friend, that laughter isn't an excuse to justify insults. Don't say, ABO Mead, my mental health is bad, and I want to. No, my friend, don't give other people negative feelings. Don't bully. That's it, my friend. Anyway, I hope that you laugh a lot, not because of psychological pressures or existential crises, but because you're a happy person that enjoys being around people, and laughing with them, not at them. That's it. Remember to watch the old episodes, new ones. Look at the sources and subscribe if on YouTube. This is a message to the comedians all around the world. We thank them. You guys are doctors to treat our wounds, and wounds of the past. Obviously, people are divided on Tom and Jerry. Some like the cat, other like the mouse. I liked the dog. I liked that piece of meat that he always had, and I loved, my friend, the chicken they ate. Every time, I ate the chicken drumstick. The drumstick in the cartoon was so big, and it stretched like that, and they chewed on it. The cartoon characters were always enjoying that piece. But then you eat it in real life. What is this size? You ask your mom what's that? She says small, but mighty. Whatever, mom.